Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the County Council. My name is Al Mendelson, Albert Mendelson, and I live in Baltimore County, in Reisterstown. I'm a small business owner. The first small business I ever owned was a small print shop, about 2,500 square feet, including the office and sale, the office and manufacturing facilities, and another 2,500 of a parking lot. Forwarding that to the outlined budget that I see here, that would have been the equivalent of a 13th month rent. It was hard enough in that first year to have a 12-month worth of rent. 13th would have probably kept me from moving out of a garage and into a shop and employing people. The other part of this is I also happen to be the chairman of the Baltimore County Republican Party, the Central Committee. And you know, sometimes when you have an election, the voters speak, but you don't know exactly what they had to say. Well, this time we know exactly what the voters had to say. The voters said we didn't like the rain tax. Everybody here knows that, look, in all likelihood, we would not have a Governor Hogan today if it would not have been for the rain tax to wrap around Lieutenant Governor Brown. So as we march forward, we ought to remember that we are in a democracy, and the voters have spoken, and the voters don't like the rain tax. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, I was really confused.
I'm sorry.
From a GOP perspective, is the rain tax a good thing?
No, the rain tax is a very bad.
You said that the rain tax gave us Hogan.
Oh.
That's a logical,
That's a good correlation. There you go.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Our next speaker is Rudy Stoller, followed by Eugene Craig. Good afternoon, Mr. Stoller.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, members of council. Good afternoon, fellow residents of Baltimore County. And thank you very much. I needed that laugh.
For against Hogan?
Am I for or against Hogan? I voted for Hogan.
Okay,
So you're for the rain tax?
No, I think I'm the only county council candidate from the last cycle who had all my campaign slogans, stop the rain tax. So that shifted it pretty clearly. When I was working at Irvine Nature Center about 8 years ago, we had a serious stormwater management issue. At that point, landlord of the property, St. Timothy's School, had redesigned their property, and we all of a sudden had tons and tons of water from every rainstorm slushing into our stream, and essentially butchered all of our tadpoles, and pretty much everything else that was in the stream at the time. I was one of the ones, as a student naturalist, put in charge of figuring out how to remediate this issue. Pardon me, this is my first time speaking here. And we came up with essentially two solutions. One, we had a short-term solution, which was to put up a few berms to block the water coming in and purify it on the way out. And our second solution, which Baltimore County does not have an opportunity to, was we moved. And that worked out very well for us.
Yes, it did.
Yes. You've had fundraisers at the property, you know. Looking at the stormwater management fee as we have it now, and pardon me, I'm going to call it the rain tax, because that's what I believe it is. I don't see it as a fee, I see it as a tax. The burden currently is on nonprofits and businesses, which traditionally we do not tax in Baltimore County. I know one of the nonprofits down the street from me, A. Jewish Congregation, Bethel Congregation, also has a full preschool and supplemental afternoon and Sunday school. They got slammed. This is not an enormous congregation. They got slammed with a $5,000 assessment for stormwater management. That is going to essentially keep out 1 or 2 students from their preschool every year. This is an enormous burden on many of our nonprofits and many of our businesses, and I don't think we have legitimate authority as a county to be putting that burden on them. We have an authority for income taxes. We have an authority for homeowners taxes. We can pull money out of the general fund. We can raise homeowners taxes, but taking the money straight from our nonprofits and businesses where it's going to hurt them the most is really cruel to them. My second point, the bulk of the non-pervious surface, which is really our focus here, in Baltimore County is not, at least in the second Councilmanic, pardon me, I haven't done the data for the entire county, is on government land, not private land. The biggest offenders, you have schools, universities, county offices, police precincts, military installations. These are all exempted from the stormwater management fee, and I think it doesn't make any sense to me why the biggest offenders, in terms of non-pervious surfaces, are going to be thoroughly exempted where everybody else has to pick up the load. My third point here, and pardon me, I'm going to go back a little bit to the non-pervious surfaces, is that the problem as far as dealing with our bay is not non-pervious surfaces. It has nothing to do with non-pervious surfaces. My brother, Dr. Aaron B. Stoller, I will make this quick if I have a few seconds.
Please wrap it up.
Sure. Has a PhD in environmental evolution and ecology, expert in the Piedmont region, our region. And I went to him for advice, and he told me quite clearly, no, the problem is not stormwater management coming off of individual properties being farmed. The issue is with overutilization of phosphorus and fertilizers from the farms, the gunk piling up in our dams, and thoroughly piling up and overflowing, and the lack of purification programs in our bay. My brother used to work for the University of Maryland Bio Institute downtown. He's thoroughly capable to say, we do not have anywhere near enough programs to fix our oyster problems, which will purify the bay, to help our crabs out, which again, purification of the bay. Those programs aren't there. We need to spend our money there. The issue is not looking at pervious surfaces. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stoller. Our next speaker is Eugene Craig, followed by Jake Maharot. Good afternoon, Mr. Craig.
Good afternoon, Chairman, and members of the council. I'm Eugene Craig, I'm the third vice chair of the Maryland Republican Party, and I've come to testify against this bill. I think the bill has it's a good starter, but I think we should go further and bring this thing down to probably a penny or a dollar. I am in full support of the forthcoming amendment from council members Todd Crandall and David Marks with Bait Koch. And, I think this is a tax that we should not be levying on the residents of Baltimore County. I'm the vice chair of the Maryland Republican Party, but, I'm going to go on record here saying that, I stand with Senator Broshin, who also believes that this main tax should be repealed. The county currently has a surplus. I think we should be able to follow the path that Frederick County and Carroll County has laid out when dealing with this storm water management fee. Yes.
Given what we've heard here today, which is basically the choice is to have the fee or cut the monies from someplace else, not these schools. Would you be in favor of cutting some school projects in favor in an effort to repeal the tax?
Well, with the $100 million surplus, which I believe that's what we have for Senator Broshin, I don't see where we would have to come in and cut school funding. And I believe we have a sizable budget where I believe we probably could find another $16 million to cover this fee, so we're not adding another tax to our residents.
But just to make sure make sure you understand, maybe I'm wrong, Mr. Holden explained. If we start really reaching into surplus, then that can affect our rent rate, which is like a domino effect, and then we in turn start paying more for everything else. So the question is, school projects or reduce the rainwater tax?
And I think Councilman Jones, you're correct, because if we all look at the next several fiscal years that the auditors pointed out to the county council, for the next several fiscal years, we're significantly taking a lot of that surplus funding and using it for pay-go to build all these schools.
Precisely.
And so we can take away maybe schools, council members who are voting against this perhaps. But I think that, this comes down to, that's totally fine. But in all seriousness, if we look at how we're spending money over the next several years, we're absolutely taking that unappropriate surplus and using it for pay-go to build all these schools, the $1 billion plan that we have to fix our aging infrastructure.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We have in the capital program, and we saw last year, you can see it in the budget submission this year. The capital budget is supplemented. It has to be supplemented by pay-go funds in order to deal with the school issues we have.
Well, I don't know how much time I have left here. I actually don't think that's a fair argument. I don't think the discussion should be, are we gonna have a rain tax or are we gonna cut schools? I think the discussion should be, are we gonna have a rain tax or are we gonna cut jobs here? Maryland's open for business now, we have a new governor here. And, a very, very, Al mentioned earlier, a very, very central part of that was the rain tax. Council, Chair Bevins, you mentioned earlier, you had a business leave your district because the rain tax was too much.
I said they were trying to get out.
Well, they're trying to get out of it, but, it's because it's too much. And I'm pretty sure that's going on in every single member's district here that's represented here, including Baycott. And I think, we should do the right thing here and alleviate that burden from our residents and our businesses. Baltimore County, we're a leader here in Maryland. Everything that happens on a major scale happens here in Baltimore County, and I think we need to be the ones to lead the way on how to properly deal with this rain tax.
If there are any other questions or comments?
There's no amendment yet.
No amendment? Okay, all right. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.